Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading from Daniella's book, Uncultured, which we are going through for the 75th time to find quotes for the musical. If you would like it, you could get a copy signed here. This one is all about my mama, and you can follow her on TikTok now, Grieving Next Door Mama. She's creating her own space for grieving and loss. This is a chapter called A Tale of Two Mommies. After I was born to my 15-year-old mother in a cult, I was handed off to the commune nursery. My mother would visit whenever the schedule said it was time for me to be nursed, if she could be excused from her work. Other times I'd be nursed by another mom visiting the nursery, a common practice. For a short while, Mom got a break at night, and instead of uncles, different aunties shared her bed to help care for me while she recovered from her C-section, and so that she could keep up her strength to return to her secretary work during the day. As she healed and I became a toddler, her schedule became more demanding, and she came to the nursery less and less, finally only allowed to see me for an hour a day at dinner and parent time, before I was returned to the dorms for sleep each day. The only exception was Sunday, Parent Day, my favorite, when we got to spend almost the whole day together. When I turned 3 and we moved to our third commune in Peru after a few years in Japan, Mom decided to take a risk and add an extra hour to our days together. Daniella, wake up, the soft, cautious voice that I recognized as Mom's. I remember the fear that ran through me the first time she woke me up. What was she doing in the toddler room in the middle of nap time? Didn't she know she could get in trouble for causing a ruckus? I opened an eye and peered at the adult bed where the auntie in charge lay, back to the wall, snoring softly. Mom motioned for me to get out of bed and go with her, finger to her lips in warning. Together, we tiptoed out of my room, my mind racing with possibilities. What was happening? Was I in trouble again? Had I done something that she had just learned about? Mom almost never spanked me, and if I'd done something truly bad, I was sure Auntie Margie would have sent for an uncle, not Mom. In the dark hallway, I stared up at her, confused, and grasped her hand tighter. I'd never been out of bed when the commune was quiet before. Was everybody sleeping? All the hundreds of people I lived with? Were Mom and I the only two people awake in the whole world? We stopped walking when we reached one of the living rooms, and I noticed some books under Mom's arm. I decided that it was time for us to work on your reading, she said to me. I've been waiting for this day since you were born. She smiled the gorgeous grin that made everyone in the commune fall in love with her. But we're not going to tell anyone for now, okay? I could see in her eyes that she wanted me to understand something more, but I didn't know why we were sneaking around. How audacious and individual it was for a mother to teach her own child to read. Reading and learning, like everything else, was done with the group, at the group's pace. I nodded my head, bringing my own fingers to my lips in an imitation of her earlier gesture. But in that moment, we snuggled together on the couch, and I ran the palms of my hands over the well-worn, comfy cushions, always reserved for the high-ranking adults. I leaned back and nestled into Mom's side. I never got to be alone with her. No Mary, my baby sister who'd been born 6 months earlier before we left the communes in Japan. No bustling aunties in the kitchen singing songs to Jesus and working on the endless food prep. No uncles stomping through the house, eyes sharp, looking for children committing infractions, hands on their belts in case one had to come off quickly. I wasn't sure how long this moment would last, but I wanted it to be forever. Mom was all mine. I loved Mom fiercely, even though I really didn't know her. At 3, I understood I was special and different from the other little girls I lived with, and that it had something to do with who Mom was. I knew she, at 18, was younger than most of the other aunties with kids my age. She'd also been born into the family, not out in the system like the other kids' moms. I knew her dad was really important. He even lived with Grandpa, our prophet, which is why we couldn't ever see him. Mostly, I knew she was special because she was the most beautiful woman in the whole world. I'll tag her here. Why don't I look more like her? I thought to myself. comparing my freckled face and unruly blonde tangles to her alabaster white skin and long, shiny dark hair. Grandpa always said that hair was the best jewelry a woman could have. But I thought maybe that was just because we didn't have any money for real jewelry. I hugged my mom tighter, noticing places where her white skin bruised just like mine did. Had she been bad too? She opened one of the volumes she had on her lap. "This book is called Peter and Jane," she said. "My dad taught me how to read with books like these when I was your age, so I was able to convince the home shepherds to let me buy a set. Now I'm going to teach you." I was surprised to find out her dad had had time to teach her to read. I wondered if he had to sneak her away from the aunties too. But I also knew Mom didn't have a mother, so maybe she'd had special privileges. When my grandma became a backslider and rejected God, Mom never saw her again. That's how I knew sometimes we had to forsake all, even our own parents or children, if they didn't follow God's will. "I already know the whole alphabet," I told her, "and all my numbers too. I can do uno, dos, tres, cuatro." I rattled off all the facts I knew, proud of my new skill of counting in Spanish that I'd learned from Auntie Margie, an Argentinian disciple who had joined the family. Even though she terrified me at nap time, I loved the bits of language she taught me. "I know, baby, you are so smart," Mom said. I read the progress reports from your teachers every day, and they say you are one of the smartest in your group. But you need to behave better and not be so naughty and loud all the time, okay?" "Okay, Mommy, I promise to try," I said, really meaning it. Alone with her, all cuddled up and warm in our own little world, it suddenly felt safe to ask questions. "What's reading for?" I whispered. "Well," she explained, "it's for ideas. It's how we learn things. You know, when I was a little girl, I didn't go to systemite school either. I lived in Switzerland, and my teacher spoke mostly French before she joined the family. It was okay, though, because once I learned to read, I could teach myself things. There are so many good lessons in the Mo letters from Grandpa, and that's why we don't need to go to school. He teaches us the right things. And you know systemite schools teach the wrong things, right?" I nodded. I wanted to learn how to read, but even at 3, I wasn't sure if I agreed that we didn't need to go to school. All of the books I had ever seen for kids were black and white comics drawn by uncles. They told us stories of Grandpa's life, his kids, and other things, like Bible stories and miracles. I'd never seen a book like Peter and Jane before, with its glossy colored pictures of systemite children at the beach, and stories that had nothing to do with the Bible or Grandpa's teachings. I realized that was why we were sneaking around. Even though Mom had been allowed these books, we could never be certain how long this arrangement would be permitted. If the right person got upset, this special time with Mom would vanish. "The thing I want you to understand, Danny baby," Mom said, suddenly looking right at me, her big eyes like mine, "is that you don't need school at all. The only thing you really need in life is for someone to teach you how to read. Once you know how to read, you can teach yourself anything you want in the world. Math, history, science." "Science like evolution?" I asked, repeating the 2 words I always heard adults mutter together. I wondered if I'd get in trouble for saying a bad word like evolution. "No, honey," she said as she laughed, but it wasn't her funny laugh. She looked over her shoulder and seemed relieved that no one else had overheard. "We don't believe in evolution. That's just a lie from the devil. But lots of science is true. It explains how things work, like rain." Mom explained more about rain and promised to find me on the rare chance that it happened so we could watch it together. I wanted to believe her, but I wasn't sure it was a promise she could keep. I never knew where she was at a given time during the long days and at nights. I only saw her at dinner and for an hour of parent time after that. What if she didn't know where I was either the next time it rained? I snuggled back down, determined to be good so Mom would never change her mind about reading with me. I knew adults didn't like it when I asked too many questions. It was something I got in trouble for all the time. But I couldn't help wondering, if books were so important and learning how to read was so good, then why weren't we allowed to have real books? And why were we sneaking? check out Uncultured, which is rated 4.9 on Audible.